Hey, with this video you can learn how to use Figma for Power BI design, and we will turn this dashboard step by step into this one. I will go through the main features of Figma and you can use it right away in your project after that. So let's get into it. We have a sales dashboard here. It's just a generic sample data from Power BI. I put a target column to it, and you can find the link in the description with the files. You can download it from there. If you don't have Figma, you can go to figma.com, create an account and download it. If you open Figma, that's what you see here. You can go to drafts and click on the plus button and new design file. This is going to be our first file. We can call it sales dashboard. Double click on the title. What you can see here, this is a layer pane. You will see different elements here. This is the toolbar, and here is an editing pane. We are going to make a frame, which is kind of a canvas in Power BI. That's where we will put all the elements. It's kind of like a container. If you go here and click on frame or press F, you can just click anywhere and drag the mouse, and then it will make some sized frame. And here you can change it to whatever you feel like. Power BI canvas size is 1280 by 720. So let's make that. But you can also pick a preset if you create a frame. Let's make another one. And here you see these presets appeared. If you go to desktop and to TV, then this has the same size by default. I'm gonna delete this. This is the right Power BI canvas size, but I'm going to export it in PNG. And there is an issue if you import it in Power BI, the resolution might be a bit messed up. So what I like to do is to make everything a bit larger. So I'm going to press K on the keyboard and scale it to twice as large. Yes, looks good. And I'm going to import the screenshot. I already made it, and you can find it also in the assets folder. And you can drag it and drop it here inside. And you can place it right into the frame just by dragging it. And as you can see, when the lines turn orange, that means that they are aligned. And here I'm gonna do the same. They are orange, meaning aligned. Okay, looks good. Another way to import an image is to go here. These are the objects, and place image video or Ctrl+Shift+K, and you can just pick the screenshot. And you can also just copy paste it with Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. Okay, that's going to be our template, and we are going to create a background first. I'm gonna press R or go here and select rectangle, and just pulling it like this, aligning it up, but this has already the perfect size, so it kind of auto aligns when you use it. It's quite good. And I want to give it a feel, a different feel. If you click here, you can go and change it to blue. I like this one. And you can change here the gradients. You can go and pick different gradients. Let's pick linear this time and go from this side to this side, kind of like diagonally. And if you click here, you can go to this element. You can change it where it starts, where it ends. And if you drag this, you can change the direction. But leave it like this. I'm gonna give an opacity of 100% for this one as well. And let's make it a bit darker. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay, I'm gonna rename it, double click, background. I'm gonna change here the layer order so we can see what's coming next. Let's continue with the header. I'm gonna press R, or you can go and click on rectangle. And I'm just eyeballing it. You don't have to be that precise. It's like kind of getting it. Here you can align the elements. If you click here, it puts it in the middle of the frame. You can transform the object. You can give here another number, or you can just drag the icon and make it to different sizes. I'm gonna press Ctrl+C, I mean Ctrl Z to go back. And you can also rotate it. Don't want to do that. And here, that's what we need. We are going to change the corners with your rounded. Put 25. And you can see they are kind of round. We can put it a little bit bigger. Let's put 50. These are the pixels. It rounds 50 pixels. This is this distance here. Let's change the color to white. We can also just go here, press F and press tab, and then it autofills. We don't need stroke. We give some effects. Here you can choose between drop shadow, inner shadow, layer blur, or background blur. Drop shadow is giving a shadow to it. These are the X and Y axis. These are the directions where the shadow should go. If I put here 30, you can see that it appeared here. So the X positive direction is right direction, and Y positive direction is actually downwards. And let's give it a blur of 20. And it makes it softer. The spread, it actually spreads the shadow in every direction, but we don't need this. Color black, that can stay. And 25% opacity, that's okay too. I'm gonna add another effect. Inner shadow, make 8x, 8y, and 20 blur. And I'm gonna make the opacity 20. I'm gonna add another inner shadow, this time from the other direction. Clicking like this. It's gonna be -8, -8, and 8. Hit enter. And this is what we have so far. Let's do the cards next. I'm gonna make it a bit transparent temporarily, so we can see something. Press R for rectangle, and actually I'm gonna make it a bit smaller. We use these effects like shadow, inner shadow, we have less space to work with. That's something to keep in mind. I'm gonna make round corners, 25, and give it a white fill. Press F, enter. Right, also gonna give it a stroke, black is okay, make it 5% opaque. With this eye you can check what does it make. It doesn't make a big difference, but it just separates it a bit from the background. Let's add some drop shadow. 4, 4, let's say 8, and 25 is okay. Looks nice. And now what we want to do is creating kind of an edge. For that we are going to copy this one. Rectangle, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Pay attention if you still have this selected here. And then you press Ctrl C, Ctrl V, it copies the effect itself. So make sure that you click somewhere in the object again. And then you have these two. And we are going to make the top one a bit smaller. So let's subtract 6 pixels of each side. This one is gonna be 315 and this is gonna be 203. And we will align both of them, select both rectangles, click a line horizontally and click a line vertically. Select only the top rectangle and change the color fill to a bit darker. Yeah, that's good. Stroke is the same, and we will change the drop shadow to inner shadow. Let's make it 2, 2, 2, and 25, that's okay. And let's add another one, also inner shadow from the opposite direction. -2, -2, blur 2, and make it 10%. And we will make a third inner shadow with 8, 20, 30, and 10% opacity. So it makes a bit more dynamic, gives it a bit of a depth. What I try to keep in mind is the light would come from one direction, like diagonally 45 degrees, and then I make these sides always a bit darker. Also the shadow is dropped here. And now we are going to group these rectangles. There are two ways to do it. You can select them both and right click here and group selection or Ctrl G. This is a group, it has the elements. It does what you would expect from a group. You can move them around together, you can size them together, stuff like that. And if you delete these elements, then the group disappears. I'm gonna ungroup it, click on the group and ungroup or Ctrl Shift G. And I'm going to make a frame out of it. This is Ctrl Alt G or just click here. And this looks like the same, but if I delete the elements, the frame is still there. So the frame is independent from them. And if I go back, I can also put other elements partly into it. Let's pull it down, put it into the frame. And if I click on clip content, it hides everything else which is outside of the frame. But you have to pay attention that here the shadow is also cut off or clipped. So this is not really what we want. Another thing is what you can do with the frame is to give an auto layout, and with these constraints it moves relatively to the size of the frame. So if you want to make a dashboard for different devices, it's a very quick way to resize the items. You don't have to go into the frame and do it separately. Okay, I'm gonna delete this one and select the frame and press Shift Ctrl and G to ungroup it, and then I press Ctrl G to group it. I'm gonna call it KPI slot, and we are going to copy it. You can copy something with the classic Ctrl C Ctrl V like this, and another quicker way is to press Ctrl D, and you can see that it made a duplicate which I can move around again. Be careful if you were inside the effects before and then you hit Ctrl D while one of the effects is selected, it's going to copy the effects, just in case you would be wondering. And the other way to copy is if you hold Alt down, and you can see that the mouse pointer doubled, and then you just drag this element and key still holding the Alt and drop it here, and there you have it. If you hold Alt and drag it, you can see also the relative distances to all the other elements, and you release Alt, then it moves the object. So you have to keep Alt pressed all the time. I'm gonna select these all and we can align them, distribute horizontally, and I'm going to group them. KPI slots. I'm gonna select this rectangle as well, and we can distribute them vertically. Okay, didn't do much, it was already aligned pretty well. I'm gonna call this the header box. I mean header box. Let's do the title next. You can just click here or press T and click anywhere where you want and start typing. And it creates a text box, which is, you can see here, has an auto width. So it doesn't matter how long you type, it's going to extend it automatically. If you click here auto height and keep typing versus says target, then it's automatically going into the next line, so it doesn't extend to that size. And if you have this, click this fixed size, then it's not going to move anywhere. So I can just copy this and paste it again. You can see it, but it's outside of the box and it just looks like a mess. Just gonna delete this. You can just go with the auto width and you're good to go. And you can break line with Shift and Enter like this. I go to the end. And you can just also hit Enter, and then you are in a new paragraph, not a break line. You can see here the difference, that here there is this break line and here you cannot see anything really. Okay, I forgot here the date, dashboard, okay. We can press Ctrl A and it selects everything. We change the color a bit, make it a bit lighter. And we also add some effects. You can handle it the same way as if it would be a shape. So inner shadow, yeah, just give it a small inner shadow like this. It's not even really visible. Make it a bit larger. I'm gonna go like this. Make it 44. You can see the shadow a little bit affecting it. This line is gonna be 36. And let's make this line 28. You can select them all and you can change the distance between the lines, but since we have a line break here, it doesn't change it in between. It only changes between the paragraphs. We can also go here and just select the first line and change the spacing between the characters. Go like this, and I'm gonna select everything and make it segue like what we have in Power BI. You can also just go here and look for it. Okay, let's position it a bit better, like this. Okay, we will have an icon here for the filter pane, so let's leave here some space. And one last thing, I want to make it bold. Oh yeah, let's turn the transparency off. Okay, looks nice. I'm gonna group it and call it Ctrl G and call it header. Next, let's make the bodies, or these boxes here down below. Hit R or rectangle, and I'm gonna separate the top and the bottom visuals. Can go in and yeah, I want to leave some more space here. Go like this. Let's change the corner to 25. The fill, we will make it a bit lighter. And we will add some drop shadow to it. 8, 8, 8, and 25%, that's okay. We are going to make an edge for it as well. Press Ctrl D, and you can see it copied the drop shadow. I don't want that, so click in the box, press Ctrl D. We have two rectangles now, and let's make this one smaller with 10 pixels each side, so it's gonna be 821 and 541. Select both rectangles and align them horizontally and vertically. Nice. There is one thing, it's just a little thing, but you can see here is the distance smaller than here. So what you can do here is to change the corners of the inner rectangle to smaller rounding, and it kind of aligns up better. It's probably not even noticeable, but I like to do it. I'm gonna group these and call it body top. Let's select the top rectangle and change the fill first. We can just click here, press F. That's okay. Give it a stroke. Also press F tab and change the drop shadow to inner shadow. Give it 10 pixels to the X and 10 pixels to the Y. Do 60 pixel blur. And let's change it to 20. We will add another inner shadow. This will go in the other direction, so -6. -6, this one is smaller, and give it 20 blur. The opacity also 20. And we will add the third effect, which is going to be a layer blur. And yeah, 4 is okay. And you can see it just makes it smoother. If you select this one and hide the layer blur, you can see the difference. Okay, so far so good. Click on the bottom rectangle and hit Ctrl D, so it's copied, and pull it below the body top. And then just click here and move it down to cover the bottom visual. Yeah, looks nice. Let's make it a bit darker and transparent. We put here 70. No stroke is okay. We will reduce the drop shadow to half and add an inner shadow. it's going to be in the bottom some glowy effect. Let's put -2 and -8 with 6 blur and change it to white, 50% opacity. You can see it just gives it a little glowing effect. And we will add another glow effect if the top layer would be reflected from this one. You can press O or just go here and click on ellipse and create an ellipse like this. Put it in the middle. Change the color to white and add the layer blur with 100. Also, let's put it below the body top group. Just like this. And it also gives a little effect. It's not a big difference, but still makes a difference. If you wouldn't know, you wouldn't notice it probably. But all these little things combined add up, really. Let's group this one too. Okay, let's call it body bottom. And let's group everything, Ctrl G, and this is going to be called body. We will copy it with drag, Alt drag, like this. Turn on the screenshot so we see where we go. And as you can see, these panes are not the same size on the Power BI dashboard, but we can just pull it this way and it resizes, and then drag it again with Alt. And this one is bigger again a bit. Okay, looks cool. Let's group it and call it bodies. This one in the middle is a bit off, so I'm just gonna select all the bodies inside the group and align them. Yep, looks good. Next we are going to use plugins, which are made by the Figma community. They are pretty awesome, to be honest. A lot of extra features which Figma doesn't have. You can just go here, click on the Figma icon, plugins, and find more plugins. We will add an image first, so look for a plugin called Unsplash, like this. You can click on Run or just click here on Run. And Unsplash is pretty awesome. You can use copyright-free images, which you can use in your projects. I'm just gonna look for color gradient red purple. Here you can select landscape, so the orientation fits for our dashboard. I like this one. And yeah, you can just align it and put it into the frame as we did before. But there's another way. You can copy the background, Ctrl D, and you can press Ctrl Alt P again. It calls the last used plugin. And we just go color gradient red purple again. Change it to landscape and pick the image. And it automatically fits it into the background. I'm gonna put it to the bottom, and let's make this a little bit transparent. Maybe a bit less. Okay, that looks good. And I'm gonna group these and call it background. For the icon, we are going to use another plugin called Iconify. Find more plugins. I already looked for one. You can enter filter here, search icons, and go to the second page. And there you will find this one. And here you can change the color. I picked this gray. Size can stay like this, and import icon. Actually, let's change the size to 50. And import icon. You can see it's there. Maybe you have to zoom out. Let's pull it inside and drag it to the top. You can see it's in a frame, a vector, and we don't need a frame, so you can just pull it out of the frame and delete the frame, or you can just select the frame and hit Ctrl G. And as you can see, this is a shape. You can change the color of it. You can change pretty much everything about it. If you go here to this icon, edit object, or you can just hit enter, you see there it marked with these diagonals, and that means that it's in editing modus. And you can just select some of these dots, for example, holding shift, and you can just move it around, make a lot of changes to it. You can also just take it and drag it like this, change the angles, a lot of things. Okay, and if you're done, you can just click here or hit enter again. We didn't really do anything. Okay, what was the default color? I think this one, maybe not. This is going to be our default icon. We will create a different icon for all the states in Power BI. Filter default. Hold Alt and drag it, so we have a copy. This is going to be filter on hover. We will change the color. We want to have something similar, purplish like this. You could select it here or just click somewhere here, and then you can use this eyedrop tool and pick a color from anywhere on the screen. Or you can just press E and it does the same. We have this. And we will also add an effect, a drop shadow to it, which will be 0 to the X, 0 to the Y, and let's say 8 blur. And let's change the color. I'm gonna copy this one, but I want to make it a bit lighter. Maybe cannot see anything. Let's change the opacity to 100. Yeah, it looks better. Want to have it glowier. Okay, great. Again, select this item and drag it again. And this is going to be the state on press. And let's make it a bit smaller. You can just press K or go here and click on scale. And we will add 0.9. So it's a bit smaller. Click on the on hover filter again. Hold Alt and copy it again. And this is going to be the active filter, that the filters are active. There is one thing, if you export in PNG, it makes a difference what kind of effects you have here. For example, the default one doesn't have any shadow. So the size of the picture is going to be different than the size of the pictures with the shadow. So to make sure that they all have the same size, we change a little bit the shadow. We don't want shadow here, so I'm just gonna put 1% here. And we will add a shadow to the default icon as well. And it's gonna be also 1%. 8. Okay. And the last element what we need is the filter pane. I'm gonna turn this one on. Gonna rearrange it a bit. Bodies come below the header. I put the screenshot here. I group the filters into filters. And we will add the filter pane. I'm gonna just go here into the bodies and select one of these body bottoms and press Ctrl D. Put it above the screenshot and align it a bit closer here, like this. Gonna make the corners 50. Make it a bit larger. This is also, I just go kind of by feeling how it looks good for me. It's kind of practice. It's also not very symmetrical probably, but kind of. You can look at these dots, for example. It's almost there. Okay, I want to make it smaller and I don't want to have these rounded edges here. So what we can do here is actually, you see these circles, press Alt and you can see this dot inside, and if you keep Alt pressed, you can drag it here like this. And now Alt is the default with the dot inside, so you can just go to the other side and without pressing anything, just drag it like this. Okay, that's good, and I want to pull it down a bit. And what I want to add is a drop shadow. I mean an inner shadow, and I will tell it later why. I'm just gonna go this direction, Let's say this one and give 30. 25 is fine. That's gonna be the shadow of the header. We will have this layer order, so we will export the header separately once and also with the background. But if we export the header with the shadow and it covers the filter here, then we cannot actually click on this. So we kind of imitate the shadow of it directly on the filter pane. Okay, we have all the elements. Let's export these. I'm gonna turn off the screenshot. Select the filters. If you export it like this, the group is selected and you go down here and select export and export filters in PNG. It exports one picture, but we want them separately. So what you have to do is select all the elements and then go to export. You can select between PNG, JPG, SVG and PDF. SVG could be better, but there are some effects which are not going to be exported from Figma and it can be problematic, to be honest. So I prefer PNG, that's why. So let's select PNG and you can see that it's going to export 4 layers. So it's gonna make 4 images. You select the folder where to export it. You can put it in assets. And by the way, you have the images there. Probably you have seen it already. Okay, that one is done. I'm gonna turn it off. Oh, we have this body button here. Let's call it filter pane. Export this one too. I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna select the header. And let's go inside and temporarily turn off the drop shadow of this header for the reason we talked before. And export it like this. But make sure you select the group and not the header box only. And export the group. Okay, let's turn back the drop shadow. Let's close it. And now I'm going to select all of it. Frame 1. Select export frame. Great, we are done in Figma. Let's go back to the Power BI file. We are here in the after. That looks the same like the before. But we are going to change the things here. Okay, let's start with the background. Let's go canvas background, browse, and select frame 1. We can make it to fit and make sure that the transparency is 0. Okay, you can select here the shape template and make it hidden. And there you go. Also the text box title looks great. Oh, there is one thing I forgot. I wanted to give here a gradient. Let's do it quickly. If you select this one, I put a rectangle here, like this. You can select 50, make it linear white, press F, make it 50%. And this one also white, 0. And it just looks much nicer. You can adjust it every time yourself and you have something like this. Okay. And replace the image here. Canvas background. Image fit. We can adjust the visuals a little bit like this. Yeah, that does look good. Can adjust. These are also okay. Can kind of put them in the middle and we can bring all of them a little bit down. Okay. Let's put the icons. I'm gonna create a button first, a blank button. Go to button, style, default, yes, and turn off the icon, turn off the border, turn on the fill. And you can see that there is an automatic default color. And if you put an image, the color doesn't go away. So I created a measure with a totally transparent color. This is a white with 0% opacity. And we will use it as a field value to make it transparent. You can go to functions, field value, measures, and transparent color. Hit OK. Yeah, it disappeared. Now we will place it like this. I'm gonna browse an image. It's gonna be the default image. Filter default. Image fit is fit. Turn down the transparency. Yeah, looks good. Okay, let's go to on hover. Delete the image, put the other one. Filter on hover. Fit it. Next one on press. Delete default image. Put on press. And also fit. So that's what we have so far. Something is messed up. The default is not aligning. So let's go back and check it. Oh yeah, that's a problem. That I put it wrongly here. So let's export it. Sorry about that. And override the default. But at least you know that these problems can occur. Let's go back to default and change the photo. And yeah, make it fit. Yeah, now it looks good. Let's call this filter inactive and copy it. And it's gonna be the active one. Go to style, default, and we will change the image here to the active. Oh yeah, and we have to fit it. Okay, great. Okay, next we are going to import the filter pane. Hit image, filter pane, style, go to style and fit scale. Turn on the filter product so we can align it like this. Kind of good. Let's make it a bit larger, like this. Okay, and you can see it's very problematic to align it properly. It's very likely that you will have a gap. So my solution for this is to create this separate header. We are going to import that as well. This time this doesn't have the drop shadows. Style, set to fit, and we will scale it. Just kind of fitting. We are not going for perfection here, but it should at least cover the below one, because otherwise you will see it on the edges. Like, it has to be covered. It can be bigger, but it can't be smaller. Okay, I think that looks good. This is going to be header. That's the filter pane. I'm gonna group it with the filter product. Hit Ctrl G. Filters. This should be below the header. Filter active, inactive. Should be also below the, they should be above the header. Right. The KPIs should be above the header as well. Okay, this looks like the proper layer order, and inside the filter, the products, the filter itself is going to be on the filter pane. Now we will add bookmarks to the icons. So the filter inactive, I already did the bookmarks, so you just have to open it, go to view, open bookmarks, and we will just have to update it. So filter inactive, if you click that, it will show and activate the filters. So filter show is this state. I'm going to update it. No data is changed, only the display. And the filter hide is the opposite state. So filter active is off. Filters are off and filter inactive is visible. Let's update it and we will add the actions. Select bookmark and select filter show. And when we click it, it shows it. Let's do the same here. Select bookmark and filter hide. Let's see what's the position of this. 60 and 116. Okay, we will put it 60, 116, same position. Okay, something is messed up. Filter show, update it again. Yeah, okay. One little thing I would do is to change here the color to white or lighter color. There you have it. I think it's really not much to get started with it, and it also didn't take a long time to do it. I think Figma is very easy to use and it's intuitive. It's also fun, at least for me, and in my opinion this dashboard looks also much better. What you can do is just do some other projects or watch some other tutorials and do some prototypes and Google whatever you are looking for. And with practice you will be faster with it. With the shortcuts you can work very fast. I really like that about it. And yeah, enjoy and keep going with this. If you like this video you can give it a like, and if you want to watch similar videos in the future you can also subscribe, and see you next time.